What was the craziest happened at your school? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. There was a news story about how an art teacher allegedly made a girl pee in a bucket in the classroom storage room. But what the news story failed to mention was that the school had recently implemented a new rule, where during certain hours of the day, students in certain classes were not allowed to take bathroom breaks. This was one of those occasions, and I felt so bad for the teacher because she didn't want the girl to pee her pants in front of her classmates. Story 2. We had a fake student enrolled at our school who had created this elaborate backstory of being a foreign student. It was later proven he was a grown adult and a wanted criminal. My cousin played basketball at a private school known for its high level of performance in the sport. There were several students who were in their 22nds under false paperwork that the school had brought in from the Caribbean and Africa to bolster the school's basketball program. There was even one working on the side sending money back to his 2 kids in Nigeria. Story 3. Our elementary computer lab teacher was arrested for embezzling funds out of fundraisers that the kids participated in. One of the fundraisers was just your typical, hey, we're raising money for your school, sell enough and you get a party bus and pizza. It wouldn't be that infuriating if it stopped there. There was a girl in my grade who was diagnosed with brain cancer and leukemia at a young age, battled her whole life. During elementary school, we raised funds to take care of her treatments. The computer teacher was best friends with her. In fact, she was the only person the computer teacher remotely liked. And guess what? Computer teacher stole money from her fundraiser too. Story 4. A guy in high school got severely f***ed up on a variety of drugs while at school, ended up puking on a couple of students during class, then passed out. Paramedics were called. He was out of school for a few days, then came back. The thing about it is his only punishment was a 3-day suspension, which took place while he was recovering. His parents were very rich and his mom headed up the school board, so yeah, go figure. That same year there was a senior who got expelled for being drunk. The only reason he got caught is because he smelled like alcohol. Mind you, this guy had no prior history of being a troublemaker. The double standard pissed off students and parents alike, but nothing was done about it. Story 5. 3 girls stole the car keys of a girl they were bullying, took the car out on a joyride during lunch, even though none of them even had a permit. On their way back from lunch, they ran a stop sign going double the speed limit and hit a motorcyclist. The motorcyclist lived, but was paralyzed from the waist down. The passengers were only suspended for 3 days. The driver's family had to pay out in a civil suit to both the motorcyclist and the girl she stole the car from, but she was spared jail time because her family had money. She also became ineligible to apply for a driver's license until she was 31. Story 6. Looking back, how many of my high school staff were wildly inappropriate is actually kind of amazing. There's the football coach who was totally not hooking up with a senior girl. Then the school investigating and determining he did nothing wrong. Then, after she graduated, they got married. My 5th grade teacher got rolled up in a kiddie porn investigation. This one was definitely the worst scandal. 2 of the teachers in the same hall were banging and each was married to someone else at the time. He would play Tim McGraw songs loud enough that she could hear in her room, and she would play Faith Hill songs back. They tried to play it off like that wasn't f***ing obvious. Also married to each other. Oh, and the English teacher who kept wearing thongs to school, and for some reason always found an excuse to bend over. The oldest kid in that class was 16. Yikes, bunch of thirsty mother. And here I was, not getting past second base until age 20 lol. Story 7. The married teacher affair happened at my school too, twice over. This level of drama is hard to keep up with. 2 brothers and their wives work at the school. One brother is the principal and the other runs the cafeteria. The principal's wife is the librarian and the cafeteria guy's wife was his business partner in the cafeteria. The principal had an affair with his secretary, and the cafeteria man had an affair with the kindergarten teacher. This was a K-12 school. Both affairs came out, and the marriages blew up. The librarian was the sweetest lady ever and was beloved by all, so that one was really sad. The cafeteria couple was always fighting, so that one was less of a surprise, but the details of the separation were still quite scandalous. My school also had a blackface that involved several of the teachers making fun of the only black employee of the school. Those were probably the 2 big ones. Story 8. I was a crossing guard in the 7th grade, which means we got to go to Washington, D.C. during spring break. Our sponsors were the special ed teach and a PE coach. On the train ride up, she sat with the girls while he sat with the boys. During the week, we noticed them getting chummy, but nobody really picked up on what was going on. The second night around 9 p.m., the coach walked into the room where the boys stayed and told us to not leave our room for any circumstance while he and Mrs. Ringland grabbed a quick bite. Oh, and to not tell anyone that was the every night routine. My guess as a grown-up, they were getting a room of their own and making the beast with two back. On the overnight train trip home, they sat together. That summer, they both left their spouses and moved to, rumor has it, El Paso. Story 9. Long after I graduated, but one day while reading the papers, was shocked to discover that my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Nielsen, had been arrested by the FBI. After they broke down his door and discovered he was running an international child ring. They removed 3 truckloads of materials from the basement of his New Jersey home, and he was running an operation from his basement, mailing this filth all over the world, some of which involved children and donkeys. The wife claimed total innocence, swearing she had not the slightest clue that he always kept the basement door locked, but remembered he hired a donkey once, supposedly for their daughter's birthday party, and thought it odd that when she then left for a few days to visit relatives, the donkey was still there when she got back. He swore in court that he never used children from his schools where he taught, which begged the question, where the hell did he get the children from then to make all this garbage? He got 25 years to life for the seriousness of the crime. Story 10. Senior prank gone too far. They took all the dead cats' rabbits meant for dissection and hung them from ropes around the school and traumatized a bunch of kids. I think PETA or some other organization heard about it and was trying to get our school to switch to a computerized dissection program. Also found out after I graduated HS, my old math teacher threatened to bomb the school and was arrested. Oh, and one of the kids I knew got hit by a train after school when he was crossing the tracks, just across from the school. He had headphones in and decided to stop right on the tracks while he was texting, and his friends couldn't get his attention in time. Story 11. A popular kid in my school faked his cancer diagnosis. Even went so far as to shave his head and everything. His equally popular girlfriend floated the idea around that the school should have a fundraiser for him, which they did. They raised nearly $12,000. The whole thing came crashing down when the school contacted the parents to give them the money, stating, "We hope it'll help offset some of the costs for his treatment," to which his parents were not aware their son had any scheduled treatments, let alone cancer. Dude really thought the school was just going to let him walk home with $12,000. The school ended up refunding the money to everyone, which caused problems because the fundraiser wasn't handled very well to begin with, so there was a lot of discrepancies over who donated however much. They changed the rules the following year, saying fundraisers could only be held for school events now. The boy who faked his diagnosis never came back to the school, although he had to write out an apology that got sent home along with the "if you donated money, see person in charge of refunding" letter. His girlfriend still tried to convince people he really had cancer, and the school just didn't want to pay him the money. A month later, he apparently left her for a girl at his new school, so she began telling everyone he lied about being sick, to which everyone was like, "Yeah, dummy, we know." Story 12. This didn't happen at my school, but at my nephew's. This is the summary he wrote out. The Banana Man Market. I love this story. So, at my high school, there was this kid who dressed up in a banana costume and ran across the football field during the homecoming game. He was chased by teachers, coaches, tackled, the whole 9 yards. After the stunt, he was suspended for the rest of the year and was going to be expelled. Enter the Free Banana Man movement. Students began running a black market that sold Free Banana Man t-shirts, and it became a crazier as the principal of the school banned the t-shirts. You'd think this would just kind of fizzle out after that, right? Wrong! The ban didn't just stop at the t-shirts. The absolutely batshit crazy principal extended the ban to the phrase Banana Man, the actual fruit itself, and oh yay, the color yellow. No shit. She literally banned a whole ass color. This of course just made the student body declare all-out war on the ban, and kids began to chant Free Banana Man during lunch blocks, which consisted of hundreds of students at a time. It was a big high school. Dudes would come to school with only a yellow shirt on, get told to take it off, and then proceed to walk around shirtless. And kids with potassium shortages were forced to go to the nurse because they couldn't eat their bananas. This last item is what broke the banana's stem, as it were, because the parents of those poor, bananaless kids threatened lawsuits against the school. Within a week, the principal was politely asked to resign by the school board. Banana Man was freed with an official apology from the superintendent. The yellow market was legalized. and the student body enjoyed bananas for lunch as a show of solidarity with our hero. It was awesome. Story 13. My elementary school, a Catholic school in a small town in the mid-80s. A very troubled 8th grader who lived adjacent to the school convinced 2 young siblings to enter the school after hours through a way he had used before and proceeded to gruesomely murder them both. In our town, it was notoriously referred to as the Dungeons and Dragons murders. I always thought that was just some more bull crap from the 80s trying to convince kids that whatever they were into had something to do with the devil. I was in high school one day where a local police officer came to our class to do some safety talk, but afterwards stayed for a good hour just to answer questions any kid had. Somehow, someone asked about the murder they heard of in town, and the officer told a chilling tale, having been one of the officers on scene back when it happened. He said after being caught, the murderer was put into a mental hospital of sorts being a kid and was still locked up, thankfully. But sure enough, he told how the murderer had been delusional and was obsessed with D&D. He had believed to ascend himself character in the game, or perhaps real life, he needed to sacrifice 2 small children. The small town has had a few random murders, but that one is the saddest and most well-known. Story 14. 2 kids got in a fight outside school about half an hour before school started. Let's call them A and D. Their parents got involved in the fight. Suddenly, as father whips out a gun and D's grandma pulls out a taser. At the end of the fight, the grandma's wig had been tased off. D's mom also got involved in a physical fight, but she didn't have a weapon. The police came and arrested D's mom and grandma, but his father ran away and was never found. The fight wasn't planned for that day. I don't know why the parents just casually brought weapons to school. Also, my school, middle school, shares the same courtyard with an elementary school. All the elementary school kids saw this. I can only imagine how it traumatized the little kids. Story 15. I went to HS in a very Jewish community, like one of the most Jewish zip codes in the country. We used a learning schoolwork management program called Schoology. And in my junior year, the school added a course for some event that had every student in the school in it, and due to some oversight or something, it allowed any student to post on the main page of the course. Like 99% of people did absolutely nothing with this, and I assume most of them were like me and didn't even know you could post until after it all went down. But like 2 to 5? Students did the dumbest possible, in some bid for attention or notoriety, took the opportunity to just post a ton of anti-Semitic memes and jokes, along with Nazi-Aryan runes, etc., before throwing away any alibi they could use by posting a picture of them in the school library, giving a Nazi salute and having their finger above their mouth, imitating a Hitler mustache. It was insane. Parents called for them to be expelled, charged, publicly named. It was all anyone talked about for weeks. I know at least one was forced to switch schools, but I'm not sure about anyone else. Still amazes me how stupid some people are. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.